Welcome to the Mystic Hour with Clare Stone and Nathaniel Warren.
Welcome everyone back to another episode of the Mystic Hour with me, your host as always, Nathaniel Warren, joined as always in the studio, of course, by Clare Stone. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, this week is another mystical chat. It's been a couple of weeks since our last one, probably about a month. I think it's always about a month,
we always
isn't
do about
it?
4 weeks in between them,
Yeah, so for anyone that's new, the Mystical Chat is essentially an hour-long show where we just get to chat about whatever we want in terms of mysticism, occultism, whatever it may be on that day. Today is going to be slightly different, though, because we're not speaking... Well, I suppose in a way it is speaking about mysticism, but we're more speaking about business, which is an interesting change of pace for the show. But like you were saying a couple of weeks ago, you get questions a lot on how you've built your business and become self-employed. So I thought it'd be interesting today to sort of go into that side of the journey and how things started. You might just need to touch your mic as well, just to... There you go, probably better now. Yes, so we're going to be talking all about the business side of things this week. So I think a good place to start would be the start. Where were you working before you started your business, and when did you make the decision that you wanted to go self-employed?
So I had so many, a normal person would, different jobs, here, there and everywhere. So I did a lot of admin stuff. I used to do weddings, admin for weddings as an assistant. I was also doing, then I went on to children's services, did admin for them, but that lasted the longest. So I was there for years and years and years. I was quite content, but it was always in the back of my mind I needed to do this because every evening and weekend, not even as a business in the beginning, it was more like a fun hobby. Everyone just kept asking me to have readings all the time. So then I was like, well, I have to start charging you because you're all taking the mickey now. So it was every evening and weekend, and it built up and up and up. And I was like, right, I'm doing this as a business now. I'm not going to mess around. And then it just became so much that it was just constant, even more evenings, even more weekends. I just had no free time, and I was exhausted working a full-time 9 to 5 job as well, Monday to Friday. And then I decided I need to do this full-time. I built up enough clients now. It's not overnight though. A lot of people, are like, oh, how long did it take you? And I'm like, about 10 years. It takes a while.
Yeah.
So I was still doing it part-time, but it takes a long time to do it full-time sometimes if you want to get it right.
Yeah.
If you're just going to rush into it, and this is why sometimes people fail at it quite quickly because, I haven't got enough clients now. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to go back and get a job. I didn't want to be like that. I was like, if I'm leaving, I'm leaving. I'm not ever going back to this ever again unless a disaster happens. So that's why I decided I'm going to go full time because I have enough people now. And a lot of it in the beginning was word of mouth. So it wasn't even me promoting on Facebook or Instagram. It wasn't me trying and pushing and pushing and pushing. It was just right, let's just see how it goes. And it was just always text messages all the time. Can you see me for half an hour? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do an email reading for me quickly? It was all word of mouth. And then when I obviously started having, to pay tax and stuff like that because my money built up, then I did the Facebook and the Instagram and started doing cards of the week. So what we do on Tarot Tuesday?
Yes.
I do that every Sunday, and every weekend I start putting a card up saying, oh, this is what your week's going to be like, whatever. And at the bottom I put, if you'd like a reading of me personally, get in contact with me. And then it built up even more. So then even more and more and more people started coming. And it wasn't just local people then. It was people from London or Cardiff or Birmingham, and then people overseas. So you get lots of people in Europe or the States and Australia and all these different places would just get to know you, or friends would start emigrating off or living in different, my brother lives in the States and he would hand my business cards out to people in America. Then I got that type of section of the market as well. So that's how it built up. And then I just handed my notice in and left. But it does take a lot of courage to hand your notice in there because it is a big leap of faith. So I remember watching this guy called Tony Robbins, and he said, if you really want it, you'll do it. If you don't want, if you're just kind of half in, half out, what's the point? Yeah. And they had a really good documentary actually on Netflix. I think everyone should watch. I can't remember what it was called now, but it was with him. And so I literally the next day I had typed up something and I handed my notice in. I was like, wow. He's so right. If I really want it, then I'll go for it and try it out.
Yeah.
So I did that, and everyone was in shock where I work, because it was like, some people just thought, oh, it was just a little hobby. And then other people didn't even know what I never told anyone at all where I worked. Like, only a couple of people I told that I did readings and stuff. And I think they just laughed off, like, oh yeah, weird little spiritual hobby that she's got. And then, yeah, they were quite surprised how big it got. And now even more so, because I still speak to them. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe how big this is. This is like insane. So yeah, and I think the world's changed a lot as well. Like, when I was a little kid and my mum used to see fortune tellers and things, it was a very like secret society, only a few people go. Whereas now, so many people are into spiritual things.
Yeah.
It's like I've hit it at the right time.
Definitely.
It's like it's destiny. I was born in the right year, and it's been the right time that I started this, because people are way more open than they used to be. So even people that would never usually would have had readings will now try it out and have a reading, and then come back every 6 months, because I always have a 6-month break. I don't like people to come straight after, just to give it a break, and also so it looks like I'm not taking the mickey either, because, you know, families like, you've just seen her every week, like, why the hell would you do that?
Yeah,
I don't like doing that. But yeah, I get regular customers now every 6 months or every year, and they always come back. But that's also helped as well, and that builds up clients even more so.
So how many years ago now was it that you quit your job and started self-employment?
I quit at the end of 2017.
Right.
So I quit at the end of Christmas 2017. I was like, new year, new me.
Now.
Yeah. 7 years. It feels like 70 sometimes. And then like properly full-time January 2018.
Yeah.
And then like, looking back over my bookwork and stuff, it's like, God, like, it was busy, but not as busy as it is now. And I was like, God, I've like even built up even more since then. And then obviously we had lockdown 2020. So I couldn't see anyone face to face anymore. And I was like, this is the biggest disaster that's ever happened. I've just started this business like full time, and now I don't know if I can do it anymore. And then I don't know if it was like somebody above or whatever made me think, Claire, you've been doing video calls for foreign clients for like the last few years, and you've been doing email readings. Push that even harder. So I did. So I pushed that even harder, saying, right, if you want a video call instead, contact me. If you want an email reading, like, or for like, you know, what's going to happen in the next 6 months, whatever, I was like, contact me. I was like pushing and pushing and pushing on Instagram and Facebook, and made my money up. So it was like, it was kind of like still a bit like half of what I should be earning,
right? But
it was still enough to keep a roof over my head when I was doing it. So
I guess it was such a time of uncertainty, COVID as well, that people would have been looking for that almost like spark of assurance.
Yeah, and I thought, again, going back to the beginning bit, if I want it enough, I would do anything within my power to make it work. Whatever I need to do, I have to do it, even if I have to work extra hours, see people I don't want to see, you know, whereas usually I'll be a bit more picky or fussy. I would just like have to do anything within my power to make it work, because then I would think of what the alternative, I would have to go back to my old job. I thought, I don't want to do that in a million years. So I'd have to do anything within my power to do it. So I did. So I just made up new email readings I could do, did more time on video calls, pushed it more with different clients on Instagram that I wouldn't normally, put more posts up as well on Instagram than I usually did, and it did work. Like, you know, it takes time obviously still, but it did work in the end. And that was 2 years. Like, you know, we couldn't do a lot of face-to-face stuff for nearly 2 years. So I was like, God, actually, it worked out. It was fine. Like, someone was looking out for me and didn't want me to quit. And I always think, actually, what I do is a gift sometimes that is given to you that you can never let go. Like, even if you do try and let go, sometimes I feel like I never want to do this ever again. But then I'll get a client that makes me feel like amazing and makes me feel like, no, I should be doing this. And that's the same in lockdown. I think, no, I should have kept doing that. Like, they wouldn't let me stop or, you know, do anything different. So that's the good thing about being a medium. You have spirits and angels on your back all the time, protecting you. So if you're meant to do it, it's meant to happen. But also, you do need to put the hard work in there as well. It is, you know, I get a lot of people come to me and say, oh, I just feel like it's not working, what I'm doing, or, you know, and I'm like, you just sometimes, if you are pushing it hard, sometimes you need to change tack a little bit. Like, maybe look outside the box a bit more. Don't just do one thing, do other little things as well, just to build that up, or just start from the beginning and just start doing little tiny things and then build up bigger again. Like, for me, with the email readings, started off a little bit small in and built that back up. You get people in, they want more and they want more and more and more. And it's, so that's kind of like how it works really. And also, you know, not being arrogant or anything like that, but you do have to be good at what you do as well.
Yeah.
If you're not that good, then people see straight through it and they won't want to come back. So yeah, as long as you know that you are good at what you do, you're confident with it, and you keep pushing hard, then you're winning. You know, you're good, and it, you know. So, yeah.
I suppose a really interesting bit about business, being self-employed in particular, is finding that motivation when there are going to be times that, you know, the client base sways one way, or perhaps maybe you're not getting as much people in for 1 month. How, during those 7 years, have you continued to motivate yourself through the self-employment and pushing to the other side when things do get better each time?
I think it's a lot of different things actually that go on. A lot of it is being a very spiritual person, that it's kind of like keep the faith type thing. You know, some people's attitudes as well, even before they have a reading with me, sometimes you think, oh my God. I don't know why, because as a medium as well, you're more sensitive to things. It gets you down and makes you feel like, oh, they're not going to think I'm good enough. They think I'm going to be rubbish. And you do get that with some mediums. They're very shy people or very anxious because of those types of people that make you feel like that. But I feel like then you'll get another client that will just say, that was so great. You've really helped me in my day. And I always keep that in my mind as well, because there's always somebody out there that does need you, that does want your work. And then other things is like my family. Like I've got a mum who's very like, you know, just get on with it. Don't be so ridiculous. Yeah. You know, she said, you are good enough. You know, they're all idiots, so they don't think you are. And it's like, if you quit this job, I'm never going to speak to you ever again. It's like, I've got like a family a bit like that. So I think that's always helped me as well. I don't ever have anyone around me that panders to it, to my sensitivities or to my low mood about it. So they're all very tough with me, everybody. And I've got your brother as well. That's kind of like, oh, you know, just, you know, get on with it. Like, you know, half of my job is, you know, rubbish and everyone's horrible, you know, and then the other half's really nice. Like I could just get one person that could have a bad attitude come in like for like 6 months. And then I'd be like, oh, I just don't know if I want to do this ever again. But then I have to think of the bigger picture and think, actually, every single other person I saw either went and just forgot about it or just went and thought it was the most amazing thing ever in the whole world. So I always say that to people as well, having their own business. Don't just think of that one person that said something negative or had a bad attitude, because it's not about you. It's about them and their personality, or them and their mood and their feeling at the time. Yeah. It's nothing about you at all. And then like with money and stuff as well, like, you know, in COVID times too, I have that group around me that like, just keep pushing on. Yeah. Just do what you got to do. Don't give up. Because some people are a bit like that. They are a bit defeatist and a bit like, well, you know, maybe you should just get another job, or maybe, you know, this isn't the right thing for you. I'm quite lucky I don't have anybody like that at all around me. And maybe I'm very selective with my friends and family who I have around me that aren't like that. Like I've got people, if I gave up tomorrow, I feel like they would be... on your back. Yeah. Yeah. They would be not happy at all if I gave up. Yeah. So that's why, I'm quite lucky really. Whereas I do see that with other people's businesses and stuff. They've got very defeatist people around them all the time, or they just don't think outside the box. And I've got a dad who had his own business as well. So he's had his own business and he's had ups and downs and arounds and, you know, really bad times and really good times, but he's still doing what he's doing now. Yeah. And he's in his 60s and he's still going like strong. And I think, you know, you look to things like that as well to, you know, keep you going. So. Do you think that's helped you almost learn how to build your own business, is through his own business that he's had, and even things such as like balancing the books and doing the taxes and stuff like that? Like my mum does that for me. Right. So that's what she does. She's always been in control of his and mine. So when I started, because I'm severely like dyslexic with numbers and stuff, so I can't do anything with numbers and finances like whatsoever, but my mum's really, really good at that. So she does all that work for me. Right. And she can like look and be like, that's good, or that's like not so good, whatever. And because she's seen it with my dad, she can see it with me. So it's good that I have that advice really, and like to look to. But yeah, it's always been like that growing up as well. I've always known the goods and the bads of having your own business too with my dad. Like he would go and work for other people, say, and he'd absolutely hate it, then go back to having his own business again. And I thought, well, that's why I will not do that, because I know it's not worked for him. So, and he knows that now as well.
Yeah.
So that's always been quite a good example, like, to have, really. But yeah, and it gives me that motivation, like, that you can do it. But I do see other people, like, they haven't had that so much. So they're a bit lost, or they haven't got that kick up the backside they need to just keep on going and keep on doing it. Like, you know, your brother, for instance, is an amazing artist and photographer, and he could easily have his own business, but he's just, like, lost. It's like, I don't know if I could do this, even though I tell him he can, but I think he's not seeing how it can work out.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe, I don't know, I have. Like, I've seen the way it can go, and the ups and downs with it, and it is worth the risk sometimes. And I think the way the world is at the moment as well, I'm just so glad I have my own thing. Yeah. No one can sack me. No one can make me redundant. It's like, and if it goes wrong, that's my fault. And I'm okay with that. Whereas at least it's not somebody else above me making those decisions for me. And, like, if anyone's going to ruin my life, I may as well ruin it myself. Like, like not anybody else.
I suppose it allows you to hold yourself responsible. Yeah,
and I love being in control. So it just suits me perfectly. If you love being in control, have your own business, because it will work if you like being in control. If you don't, then fair enough. Like, go and work for somebody else, and that's great for you, and that suits you. But I just can't. I'm just too much of a rebel. I hate anybody above me. Anybody above me that I've ever had in work. I've never been, like, you know, obnoxious or horrible, like, where I've worked and that, but I've always, like, gone home and, like, been massively passive aggressive or resentful, whereas I don't get that anymore, like, at all. I go home,
but you couldn't really hate your boss now, could you?
I just hate myself, so it's fine. Like, so that's fine, but I don't have that anymore. I don't have that, like, weird anger that you get when you work for someone else, which, like, makes you ill and depressed. You know, if I'm getting depressed, it's because I brought it on myself by booking somebody in that I knew wasn't good enough to be booked in the first place. And I know I will not do that again, so that's fine. But it's just, it works better for me being self-employed. Definitely.
I think it's interesting that you're a business that has almost solely grown through word of mouth. Would you say that is, like, the main way that you've grown your client base? Is word of mouth? And it's, like, hustling quite a lot as well. Like, I'll be going out anywhere in public, and anyone talks about anything a little bit spiritual or whatever, I'm like, I've got a card. Straight on it.
Cards. Like, business cards are so good. If you're starting out, just get hundreds of business cards and just hand them out to people. It does work. And it's because it's in the physical as well. Being online is great, but people sometimes just, like, flick through stuff. When it's in the physical, if you've got a business card, they'll put it in their pocket or the wallet, and they'll keep seeing it and seeing it and seeing it all the time whenever they go in there. Or if it's on the side, they'll be like, what's that? Oh, I haven't talked to Claire yet. I need to message her. So I always think they're quite good, actually. Quite good invention, the business card. So that's how I did it, really. Like, and always, like, show my face all the time as well. Again, I've never pushed anything on anybody, though, so I'm not like a preacher. Like, some spiritual people do that, where they push it too much. I'm like, if you've got an idea or you're talking to me about it, then I will give you my card, but I will not ever be like, you really need a reading. Oh my god. And I think that's how it's been successful in the beginning as well, is because I am not forcing you. It's very, like, gentle. It's like, you come when you feel like you're ready to come. So they feel more relaxed. They feel like it's a more friendly environment, that I'm not going to push my ideals onto you. I don't care if you believe in spirits or not. Like, I'm going to tell you what's in your cards or what spirit are telling me, and that's it. And then you go home and you deal with that your own way. I'm not going to push, like, you should go to the spiritualist church every Sunday. You should be, you know, praying to angels every day or whatever. I don't care what you do like that. Like, I've never been like that. Some mediums do. They're like, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. I think, just shut up. It's, like, ridiculous. I just feel like, you know, I've always done it in a gentle way, and that's how it's worked too. Always friendly, always professional, always on time. That's another thing as well. It's, like, that makes it successful, is being on time, being polite, even if someone's a complete idiot. Just kind of like, not being too aggressive with it, just being gentle always works, and people want to come back again. And I think that actually that's what's taught me with my last job, actually. I worked at Children's Services for a bit, and they said, always treat people the same, even if they're, you know, a heroin addict, or, you know, they've done something really bad. Always treat them the same, because this is like your job. You're supposed to be professional. You know, you don't know what they're going through. And that's what I do in my business now is I get all walks of life in my business too. I get addicts. I get people that have had most terrible, awful things happen to them. And then I get, you know, a housewife or, you know, somebody that's never had a problem in their entire life, but they're always treated the same. I never judge anyone either. And that's why people come back too, whereas, you know, they're like, you didn't judge me because I've done this in my past. And it's like, no, like, you know, I'm here to do a reading for you. I'm not here to, you know, judge what you may or may not have done. Or, you know, some people that have had, you know, really bad addiction problems and stuff like that. But, you know, I don't judge. I'm just kind of like, that's just your battle to deal with. It's not mine.
Yeah.
So why should I judge you for it? And I think as well, people have always judged me all my life for what I've been interested in, you know, my spiritual life that I like to lead, that I'm a tarot reader, I've done this as a business. People are like, oh yeah, that's like a load of rubbish or whatever. That's why I don't judge other people, because I just think, you know, I don't want to be like them. Like, why do I want to be, you know, a horrible person like that? And I think that's why so many groups of different walks of life come to see me a little bit more than I see with other people.
Yeah.
Because I just think, yeah, like we're all just the same. We're all just trying our best. So yeah, that's why they keep coming back.
Well, I think that's a really good place to leave this business half of the show this week. I think a good place to go into right before we go into the music would just be, I know we touch on this sometimes, but explain to people your business, what the different services you offer, and how they can find you.
Okay, so, right, the different things I offer. So I do one-to-one sessions, which are face-to-face or video call. And that is usually psychic mediumship with tarot. So that is basically telling people's futures, and also messages from spirit as well when that comes through. So everything together. People, when they see me work, they're like shocked. They're like, there's like a million different things going on at once. So I'm looking at spirit, I'm looking at their energy, I'm reading the cards, I'm looking at images in my head that are going on. So that's all of the one-to-one sessions, which I charge a little bit more for, which is on my website and stuff that they can see. And then the email readings are a bit different. So email readings, I'll do a 3-question one, which is just tarot only. So that's not spirit. So there's nothing like that. It's just basically I'll lay the cards out and ask questions. A lot of clients that see me for one-to-one sessions will do the 3-card one in between sometimes sessions. Yeah. Just in case they forget questions they've asked, or, you know, stuff like that, or they just want to just go through something maybe again. But sometimes people that have never had a one-to-one session will have 3-question one because they're like, oh, I don't want to know anything about spirits. I just want to have a little standard reading. And then the 6-month email one I do is just basically the same tarot only, just for the future for the next 6 months ahead. And it's just short descriptions. But those are a bit more cheaper, just for people that maybe can't afford the one-to-ones, or, you know, or just want an overview, don't want it too in-depth and emotional when they come to see me. But yeah, I've got a Facebook, which is Clare Stone Psychic Medium on Facebook. And then I've got my Instagram, which is Clarestone_medium, which is, yeah, again, it's updating what times I have available if you want to see me face-to-face or video, or if you want an email reading. And it also gives you, your predictions for the week ahead, which is more of a broader thing. Not so much like Tarot Tuesday, where we do more individual star signs. It's more just like basically for the week ahead. Yeah. And weekend predictions, new moon, full moon predictions, like loads of different stuff. So people can, have loads of different things going on. Yeah,
exactly. The Mystic Hour. Stars, spirits. Welcome everyone back to the Mystic Hour, where of course I am joined by Claire in the studio as always. We've already done a bit of a business aspect of things in the first half of the show, where we're talking about Claire and her journey to become self-employed and start her own business. It was very interesting, so if you missed it, make sure to check it out. So for the rest of the show, we're going back to basic. We're going back to what we would normally be doing, just chatting mystical stuff. I've got a couple of notes on my phone. You don't know what they'll be, but the first one is something that we were sort of touching on last week. I don't even know when I wrote this in my notes, to be honest, but it's there. Are people meant to be kept apart from each other until the exact moment they are fated to meet?
Yes. I always think that. I think sometimes, things get in the way to separate you. Like either it's just not the right time, you can influence each other too much, like in the wrong way. And I also think sometimes other people can be a burden on you, so they're kept away from you. I've had this recently, where someone hasn't come to certain things, and I've always said, like I said this to Josh as well, it's like, then you're not meant to see them. And I thought, I know why now. It's strange. It's like there'd be too much of a burden on you and drain you. So yeah, that's why I always say to clients sometimes, I'm like, you dodged a bullet. Like you've just gotten out of the way at the right time. But then as well, like with like romantic things and stuff like that, like sometimes people are like, I was in the same place as you. Like me and Josh were actually. Like I remember we both went to the same gig like years and years ago. Didn't know each other was there. Could have literally stood next to each other, and then years later we got together. Yeah. But we could have got together then. Like how strange is that? Like, but then it was probably not at the right time in our lives. Yeah. Like we wouldn't have been ready for each other and probably would have broken up by the time we, like, you know, 2 years in or something. Whereas now we've been together like nearly 14 years. So yeah, I always feel like, fate.
It's interesting. You see stuff like that a lot with couples, don't you? Of like even people like showing childhood photos, and you'll see this couple's like almost in each other's childhood photos, but they wouldn't have even known each other at the time.
This happened to my parents actually. My mum and dad met each other when they were little kids, so they were born a week apart, a few doors down from each other, and then they met each other when they were like about 4 or 5. Outside each other's road, and my mum thought my dad was an idiot. And then they never saw each other again until my mum was about 20.
Wow.
And then they met, and then they've been together over 40 years now. But yeah, and that was in the 60s, and they met in the early 80s again. And I thought, God, how weird is that?
It's so strange. Like there is something keeping them apart from each other all that time.
Yeah, and like, you know, they had lives before, like girlfriends, boyfriends, my mum, husband, and stuff like that. And but never, even though they're in the same town and stuff, never like got together until they were like in their 20s. So it's like somebody up there was like, no, you need to learn these lessons first and these tests, and now you can get together. So I always think that maybe that could be another thing as well. You need to go through certain aspects of life or traumas or troubles. Yeah. So you learn to take that into your relationship to make it better, maybe. I don't know, but or not to do certain things again because this is the right person for you. So yeah, that's what I think as well sometimes.
I find it interesting when we've spoken about destiny and fate before, when you've said you can avoid it, but it will only delay it. So even like if you did move somewhere far away, you would still meet that person, but just maybe not when you were originally supposed to, type thing. Yeah,
like it's definitely true. Like things always catch up with you in the end that are meant to. That's relationship wise, friendship wise. And I also think sometimes with your health or your life in general, like some people, you know, like just got you know, and nearly got hit by a car. And then a couple of years later, they die of like a terminal illness. And you think it's like, and you feel like you've got away with that. Yeah. Or like you were really unwell and then a lorry hits you. Like after all that time. And I just think, God, like how like crazy is that? But yeah, I just think like someone I know had that, like they're really, really unwell. And then, they just died. Like, it was an accident and stuff. And I just think, God, like, how weird. Yeah, you can't avoid it. But yeah, it's the same, with relationships too. You can never, like, ever avoid it. And friendships as well. Like, people that I used to go to school with that I never even talked to, now talk to me. Yeah. And I think, is that just because of my job? But I think, no, maybe it's because they weren't right for me then. Maybe they would have been horrible back then and I would have seen them in a different light. Whereas now I see them as a nice person. Yeah. So, yeah.
I've seen people describe it before as almost like a maze that you can go down any path you want, but there's only one entrance that will take you on to the next part. And that is what life is like. You go, you know, you can make all these decisions, but eventually you're going to find yourself to that path where you go into the next stage of life. And there are almost these like, sounds stupid to say, but canon events where you go into them and they are something you were destined to happen and it will change you, but that's just not something you can avoid.
Yeah, and like I say this to clients as well, like when sometimes I'll say to them, if anyone's listening at the moment, they're like, you're on the right path now. That means because you haven't gone off course in between. Yeah. So some people, when I see them, they're just off course at the moment in between little moments, but eventually they go back on the path. And sometimes people, you know, some people might find this a bit boring, like, oh, you're back on the path now, you're not doing anything a bit weird, or you're not learning lessons at the moment, spirit giving you a bit of a break, they can't be bothered with you at the moment, so you're just on the right path, just going through life,
trod along.
trod along normally, like it's fine. Then some people think, oh, that's chaos, their life's chaotic, Jesus Christ. It's just because their path's a bit more straight pretty near the end of their life, whereas at the beginning it's like all messy and stuff like that. So everybody is on the right track at some point in their life. It's just, they go off on an A road instead of the motorway.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's a good way to put it.
They've gone, into a village instead of the dual carriageway.
Yeah.
Then that could be of your own making. Spirit and energies above can't control every detail, and a lot of the time they're busy as well.
Yeah.
And that's where you do go, of course. But eventually, seeing what you're doing there, back on.
And like you say, that can be good as well. To branch off on your own adventure, almost to learn lessons about life and
and you do.
find
Everyone
things
does.
that you wouldn't otherwise.
There's not one person in this world that's ever been on the right track throughout the whole life.
Yeah.
There's always something that pops up, even if it's small, to make you go off. Just to learn those lessons for a little bit. And it can even be, again, spirit just being like, I haven't got time to babysit you right now.
Yeah.
Just do what you want. Like, it's a bit like letting a teenager or someone go off to uni for the first time, and you're like, I don't know what they're up to. Oh, they're up to all sorts. Oh, well, they'll come back to the fold soon. They'll come back home. And that's a bit like spirit with how you're on the right track. So, that's what they do.
So, branching off to a completely different discussion now, and this was something that I've been curious about. Obviously, you're someone that makes a lot of predictions. We have Tarot Tuesdays, for example, where every week you will get a prediction for your week ahead. But for you, it must be a lot more intense than that, because you're always predicting stuff that's going to be happening, whether it's the near future, short future. Do you find that using tarot almost helps you, or do you think sometimes it can be a detriment if you are pulling the bad stuff and you're almost like worried then for what's coming and anticipating bad things to happen?
Yeah, this is happening at the moment. We're in eclipse season, retrograde season coming. And it's horrible. You're heightened all the time. So I'll pull cards and I'm thinking, why have I done that? That's just like torturing myself. So I'll pull it and then it's bad. And it's like, well, I knew it was going to be bad because I'm feeling it. Like, that's the problem with being a psychic. Like, you feel it's going to be bad. And it's like, I need confirmation. Hopefully it's good, though, that I'm actually just imagining it in my head. And then it comes out like, I am a psychic. It is true. It is going to be bad. Like, at the moment, all I seem to be pulling is the death card and the devil card all the time. And I just think, oh, when's it going to stop? And I think, actually, it's probably not even about me at all. It's probably about people around me. Because as a psychic medium, you're never going to predict your own death, or you're never going to be, predicting, like, you could predict when you're ill, but more so if you got the flu or something like that. Like, if it was something really serious, Spirit probably wouldn't even bother telling you because that's what they're like, unless it's for somebody else. So, I get that quite a lot. I even said to Josh the other day, like, it sounds like really, really horrible. It's like, I wish whoever this is would just hurry up because it's doing my head. It's making me feel doom and gloom. Constant. Or it's like, if there's going to be an earthquake or a tsunami or something, can it just happen now? Because literally I feel dreadful. It makes you feel so tired. It makes you feel exhausted every day. It makes you feel dread, doom and gloom. You feel like you're paranoid. It's because you're getting so many energies clustering and clustering and clustering that you just need a release and you can't get it. A lot of the time you're just normal, you're just kind of like just walking around. But when you feel it, you really feel it. It's a psychic thing. So you do get that in certain areas. You also get it when people are talking about future events as well. Like, oh, I'm going to get married soon, I'm going to do this. I'm like, no, you're not. I can feel that energy around you is too black or too grey. It's not going to happen. And that's like, in my mind, when I do world things and stuff. And it's weird. There's a volcano in Iceland that erupted again for the 4th time. And Josh was like, I reckon it's like something to do with that while you're feeling like this. It's like that energy is pulsating and it's building. It's not just spiritual energy. It's like universal energy or the earth's energy. It really affects me sometimes. I spoke to this druid guy about this once and he said, that's like me as well. Like, I get that too. But, I completely understood what he was on about. Like, I don't do it in a hippie way, like, oh my God, man, the vibrations are like really bad. It's more like, can this just please stop? This is horrible. I've predicted it now. There's going to be big news soon, probably. But I had that before COVID. Something didn't feel right for a few months. I was doing a lot of readings for very negative people as well. Like, it just felt negative. All their cards were awful. I was predicting stuff kind of like, oh, you're going to work at home soon, or you're going to do this, that, and the other. Like, no, I'm not. That's like a load of rubbish. Obviously, it all end up happening. And I said to Josh, it's like, I feel actually really light now. Like, I felt really good actually during COVID. I felt the best I've ever felt in ages.
Wow.
Other than the work stuff, you know, with money and everything. But other than that, I felt healthy. I felt really good. I felt really light. But I think it's because it had happened. The bomb had gone off.
Yeah.
And that energy was released. And Spirit were like, oh, we're busy now collecting people, taking them up.
And I guess that panic that you had of what is going on? What's going on in the world? What's making me feel this way? As soon as that's almost revealed itself, you're like, okay, that's that. You know, and you kind of know that that's where it's coming from. And I suppose that would be the same with a lot of the predictions you do. You're almost worrying in anticipation of what it's going to be. But maybe if you just didn't like have the confirmation that something bad was going to happen, when it happened, you'd almost be like, okay, that's that. And you deal with it in time. Do you get a lot of clients come to you that almost have that same thing where maybe they use prediction as a crutch for them, and then when they find out perhaps what they were hoping for isn't quite as good as they were hoping for, maybe that affects them negatively?
Yes. Like, oh my God, sometimes I get people come to me and they'll be like, and it's like they've had all these bad feelings and all these things that have gone, like, something bad's going to happen, can you do my cards to me? I just want to know that everything's going to be all right. And then I say, well, actually, you're correct, your intuition's right. Like, you can, things are going wrong. You know, and it's probably going to continue like that maybe for the next 3 months or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, that's like rubbish or whatever. Or you tell them something good sometimes and they're like, no, my life's rubbish. That's never going to happen. And you're like, well, why are you coming to see me then? This is like really weird. I had that the other day for someone. I was like, why are you in my house? Why are you wasting my time? If you know what's going to happen, if you want your life to just feel like hell every day, go ahead. Like, I don't care. But actually it looks quite good. And then other times, you might confirm things for them. I had that for somebody once. She was like, I'm getting engaged, but I feel like something isn't right. And I looked at the cards and that and I went, look, I'll tell you the honest truth. Like, even if it was good, I'd say it was good, but I said it looks bad. I said there's something not right in this. She came back a few months, 6 months later and said, he was cheating on me.
Wow.
So sometimes people's intuitions are quite good, but sometimes I'll, think actually, it is bad, but then it will get resolved later on. And other times you'll say, actually, you're right at the moment, but things are going to get better in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. And they just don't believe it. It's crazy how that happens when they come to me like that. But and also, you get people like Nostradamus, for instance, the biggest psychic ever. Everything he ever predicted is doom and gloom. But that's because he's purging. Right. When you purge, it's like, oh my God, I need to say this really bad stuff because it's like all I've got is that in my head right now. That's all I'm getting through. My intuition, everyone's energies I'm reading. He was probably walking around in France, wherever it is he was living at the time. Yeah. Like picking up all this energy off people and go, oh, I can feel it for the future. So he's like writing it down. Half of it came true. And that's similar to me, really. Like, it's not trying to be doom and gloom all the time. It's just those negative energy
come through
stronger. The good ones you don't need to worry about. Sometimes it's like you don't really need to know. It's like
and that's almost the excitement of good things, isn't it? Is that you don't know they're coming.
It's like a nice surprise. Whereas like the bad stuff, sometimes it's more as a warning from spirit, just in case. It's like, maybe don't go there on holiday. Maybe don't do this because look, you are safe. You're going to live, but do we want this complication in between? When that comes in. Whereas like, a lot of people that do pass away or have really bad health problems are like, well, I didn't know that was going to happen. I'm like, yeah, because you're not allowed to. It's like, you're not allowed to know, but their girlfriend or their wife, they know. They could feel something probably coming for months and they're like, I feel really tired, I feel really off, I feel really depressed, and all of a sudden then they get ill. That's probably why you're feeling it. Like, a lot of people have unexplained low moods as well, where they get really, really down, where they feel like everything's going wrong in my life right now. That's just because you're feeding off of something's to come, probably. Right. Because, they have no explanation for it.
Do you think people do that unconsciously, whereas you've almost got more of a conscious
I know. Yeah. Sometimes I'll have friends and I feel really off, but there's nothing wrong. Yeah. Not hormonal, it's not, circumstance. And I'm like, because you're picking up on something for somebody. And then other times people do know about that. They'll come to see me. They'll know, like, I feel really bad at the moment. I'm getting really bad dreams. Like, what does that mean? I'm like, don't worry about yourself. It is about somebody else. Yeah. You are feeding off of that and predicting it. So if anyone does pass or anyone gets ill, it's just to say, not for you to worry about it. They've got it covered. You're just feeling it.
Yeah.
So if people do get that, like at home, and anyone like listening or whatever, I wouldn't worry if you're getting it.
Yeah.
It's more for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't know about it. You know, that's, you know, for me, it's my job, so I've got to feel it all the time. Whereas some people might just get it once in their life or once a year or something like that. But I get it every day. You know, before I do a reading, the night before and the morning of, I will feel absolute dread.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm like, I don't want to do the reading today. I don't want to do it. I get in a really terrible, bad mood. That's because I'm picking up on their energy before they've even walked in. And then I'll read them and it'll be like, yeah, I am getting a divorce at the moment. Yeah, I've been anxious. Yes, I haven't slept. And I feed off of that and repeat those patterns. And then when they go, I'm like, fine. I'm like really good. I'm back to normal again. So.
I suppose again, a lot of the times people will be coming to you is when they're searching for answers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time is when they're feeling anxious or going through something. When they're looking for that. So it makes sense that energy would be the one that you're currently or always finding.
And then other times, sometimes I do feel really good before reading. I feel like this person's going to be really boring. When I feel like that, I'm always like, and they do turn up like, oh, my mum got me a voucher for my birthday. Or it's, or they're just like, I just want to see what's going on, really. Like, there's something wrong. And I'm like, this is why I feel really in a good, happy mood. It's because there's nothing going on. Like, I don't mind those, to be fair. Like, they're all right. But I just feel like I only need 10 minutes with you rather than half an hour. But yeah, like, you know, everyone's different, and it would be horrible if it was bad all the time, to be fair. Like, that would just be like a horrible job. You know, a lot of people, to be fair, they turn up and have all these problems, but actually ends up being good in the end. Like, I say, actually, just wait a couple months and it'll be over and done with. And you explain why it's over and done with as well. Maybe they need to sign certain paperwork off. Maybe, you know, they need to get rid of a certain somebody, and then they're fine. And they know what to do on their path in those next few months, and then they're all good. And then I don't see them for ages until they got another problem. Or sometimes people come back after they've had a problem and go, do you know what? I feel amazing right now. Like, I feel really good, and that really helped me last time. Because you were right, it did sort itself out, and now I'm good. Like, what's the next phase of my life? Will I have kids now? Will I meet a new partner? And so I like those ones that come back. They come back every 6 months, and it's like a progression. It's a bit like doing...
almost like you get to watch someone's life from afar and predict what's going to happen in between.
I always feel like it's a bit like being ahead of year. You've made a lot of progress.
Exactly.
You've done well over the past 5 years. I get clients like that come back going, just like, I say, oh, you're not as like low as last time, or, you know, you've improved like loads this time. That's amazing. Like, but yeah, some mediums you see, they love it. They focus on the negative. They want you to be upset because it's an easier reading. But I don't know. I just like the progression because I feel like I've done a good job then. That I've predicted these things and also maybe giving you some advice in between, and it's worked out. And yeah, that's good. I like that.
Giving people guidance on how to deal with their problems.
Well, yeah. So like sometimes people I've seen when I used to be part-time, like years ago, they come back now when I'm full-time, and they're totally different people, married with kids and all sorts going on, completely different.
I think that's a good place to leave it for today. We've done a lot of talking. It's a shame because I feel like we need more talking on the show. Yeah. I wanted to touch on the big thing that you think is going to happen soon. Maybe we'll speak about that soon.
Maybe do that next time.
But for now, that is all we have time for. Of course, we have one last track. What is the last track you've got for us?
I've got Typo Negative. I think it's called My Girlfriend's Girlfriend.
That is correct.
Oh.
Nice. Our final track of the day. Make sure to tune into Tarot Tuesdays. And if you do want a visual aid to our radio show, then don't forget, we always post this on YouTube too. Aspen Weight Radio, The Mystical Chat. Have a great rest of your Thursday or Sunday, everyone, and enjoy this last track.